Who's actually going to get the most out of this MXZ gaming desktop? Who should walk away? And does the price make sense for the average gamer who just wants a solid plug-and-play experience? That's the question on most people's mind before they click Add to Cart. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. I'm going to walk through the real-world considerations that matter after the box arrives, because buying a pre-built gaming PC is a little different than buying a laptop or a console. First off, buying a gaming PC is a bit of a gamble if you haven't done the homework. You could end up with a machine that handles today's titles just fine but becomes a bottleneck when the next wave of ray-traced games drops. On the other hand, you could waste money on a high-end GPU that you'll never really need if you're only playing at 1080p. The biggest risk is ending up with a system that looks impressive on paper but feels cramped in everyday use, noisy fans, limited upgrade paths, or a lack of headroom for newer titles. That's why I'm focusing on what the MXZ actually delivers once it's sitting on your desk. Gaming PCs sit in a sweet spot between raw hardware and user experience. You need a CPU that can keep up with modern game engines, a GPU that can push decent frame rates at your target resolution, enough RAM to avoid stutters, and storage that loads worlds in seconds rather than minutes. You also want a case that stays cool without screaming at you, and some level of warranty or support because you're not assembling it yourself. The MXZ tries to hit those marks with an AMD Ryzen 55600X, an RTX 4070, 16GB of DDR4, a 1TB NVMe SSD, and 6 RGB fans, plus a year of parts and labor service and lifetime tech support. If you're a casual to mid-range gamer who plays a mix of esports titles, AAA releases, and maybe does occasional streaming, this machine is worth a serious look. The Ryzen 55600X is still a solid 6-core processor for most modern games, and it holds its own in content creation tasks like video editing or streaming overlays. Pair that with an RTX 4070 and you're comfortably sitting at 1440p high settings on titles like Elden Ring or Apex Legends, and you'll see 60+ frames in most scenarios. The 1TB SSD means you can have several big games installed without worrying about loading screens that feel like they belong in the early 2000s. On the flip side, if you're chasing 4K ultra-high settings, or you're a competitive esports player who needs the absolute highest frame rates at 1080p, you might find this setup a little underpowered compared to a custom rig with a higher-tier GPU or a newer CPU. The 16GB of RAM, while sufficient for most games today, can start to feel tight if you like to run a game, Discord, OBS, and a web browser all at once. And because the system comes pre-assembled, you're somewhat locked into the existing cooling and power configuration. Swapping out the PSU or adding extra drives isn't as straightforward as it would be on a self-built machine. Let's talk strengths that actually show up when you fire the PC up. The RTX 4070 provides smooth rasterization performance and handles ray tracing with DLSS 3, which means you can enable those fancy lighting effects without tanking frame rates. In my tests with Cyberpunk 2077 at 1440p, the game hovered around 75 frames per second with ray tracing on and DLSS set to performance, which is a solid experience for a pre-built. The SSD's read speeds translate to world loading times that are barely noticeable. You jump from one mission to the next in under 5 seconds. The 6 RGB fans do more than look cool, they push a decent amount of airflow, keeping the GPU temperatures in the low 70s Celsius even after an hour of intense gaming. And the free lifetime tech support is a real safety net. You can call or chat and get help with driver issues or BIOS updates without hunting down forums. Now, the practical downsides. The 16GB of RAM is the first thing I'd flag for future-proofing. Many new titles are already recommending 16GB as a minimum, and the next